Yeah, it was tough because you get to a point where you feel like, here I'm in my mid-20s thinking that, worst case, they're telling you what you're going to go out in the IPO and you're going to be worth $500 million and, you're doing your math on your equity and, okay, I'm going to be retired at 28 and, okay, if it doesn't go to $500 million, maybe it'll be $200 million. Either way, we're all going to be great. We're finally going to cash in after 7 to 8 years of working our asses off.
Right.
What could go wrong? Never do you expect this. And so, how do you react to it? I mean, it really wasn't a lot of options. We were trying to do everything we could to save the company. We went from that to all of a sudden having to lay off 200 people, having to trying to find money anywhere we could, and everything was shut down. Everybody was on hold. So it literally, there was probably a group of people that got caught at the worst possible time, and we were in that batch of people.
Welcome to the Habits to Goals podcast with Martin Grunberg. It's time to take control of your life. Are you ready to achieve goals faster and more consistently than ever before? You need the Habit Factor. You're listening to Habits to Goals, the podcast that helps you create the habits that lead to success. And here is Martin Grunberg.
All right, before we jump into this episode, I'd like to encourage you, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the Habits to Goals podcast. Do us, Henry and I, a huge favor, if you could please, leave a review. And finally, if you're new to the program, you're looking for a quick resource and a great tool, just text us at 33444. Again, that's 33444, and simply text 4 goals. That's the number 4, GOALS. So that's 4 goals to 33444. You'll be dialed in. You'll get the template right away. Now let's bring it back to this episode. All righty. Habits to Goals listeners, welcome back. My name is Martin Grunberg, and you are in this studio today. Believe it or not, we've actually brought the studio to our guest. This is going to be a fantastic interview. This man, I want to see if I can get this straight. I wanted to say The Bachelor, but I believe it was Millionaire Matchmaker. So he was a star on the hit reality show Millionaire Matchmaker.
Star for a day.
Yes.
And did you really need to bring that up?
Yes. And I'm not even done. This is just the intro. And if he's not busy being a star in Hollywood, he's probably standing in the winner's circle at Del Mar Racetrack as part of the ownership group. And wait, I'm not done. If he's not doing either of those two things, he is a world famous restaurateur here in San Diego. And of course, my favorite about this man, who I affectionately call EB, Mr. Eric Berman, my favorite of all is the fact, and we're going to get into all of this, that he is a business partner with a living legend in the personal development space, Mr. Brian Tracy. So EB, welcome to your studio. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Thanks for coming to the studio and hanging out here, the famous studio where Brian does many recordings.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot to get to, and I'm just thrilled to finally dig into this interview with you. But before we do, it is customary to kick off the show with a GTR. You know what the GTR is, right?
Absolutely.
So you can,
Yeah.
the guest gets to kick off, or they can defer. Take your pick.
It's just like football. I get to defer kickoff.
Yep, you can. Yep.
Let's see. You could GTR here. I would say, more recently, I've stopped traveling and being sick over the last few weeks. I'm back in the gym, 7 a.m. Getting my workouts in almost every day for the last 2 weeks.
Being sick sucks.
Being sick sucks. Slows you down a little bit. I've been doing partial workouts while sick, but to get the full hardcore workouts is better. But you mentioned the horses. I'm excited because one of our babies actually is been selected to go into a big stake race in Kentucky.
Unbelievable.
So I think we're going to be. I think I'm booking my flights tonight to see our little baby.
What's the name of that horse?
This one, we have two really big ones that are doing well. One's called Free Rose, who's on a little bit of a break, and her name is Goodyear for Roses.
Ooh.
And we actually just partnered. They bought into this group. We're doing so well. We got this horse a few months ago, and it's 3 for 3. And we got another group that bought into the horse. It's the same group that owns California Chrome.
Incredible. So we're going to get into.
Yeah.
We're going to.
So excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
My GTR, real quick, is that
tell me about it.
I'm taking the family to Yellowstone National Park.
Wow.
Yeah, fairly soon.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I need to get there. That's what.
No, I can't wait to check it out. Well, I understand you were just at Jackson Hole-ish, and Yellowstone's kind of in the hood.
Close by. We just short of bad weather, though. We didn't get around too much.
Yes. All right. So now we got that off the table. Let's dive in. I, of course, know a little bit of the background here, but for the listener, you have very humble beginnings in the mean streets of, what is it, Hidden Hills or Calabasas?
Same hometown as you, my friend, as we know. Which is great. Yeah, so, the Valley, they call it in L.A., the Valley.
The Valley.
Yeah.
And you went to Calabasas High School,
Calabasas
right?
High. I think just 1 year after you?
Something like that.
Yeah, we don't need to divulge our age right now.
No. Exactly. So, okay, so that's high school, and then you go where to college?
UC San Diego, University of California, San Diego.
UC San Diego.
UC San Diego. So that's what actually brought me to San Diego.
You were a smarty pants.
I was.
What was your major?
Major was, they changed the name because it was so complicated. It was stood for QEDS, which was Quantitative Economics Decision Science. Which I've heard since I left. Maybe it was like right after I left. Who knows?
QEDS.
It's now called Management Science. It's one of the big business degrees over at UCSD.
Fantastic. And then, so you're here at UCSD, and if I recall correctly, there was an early entrepreneurial venture that the name college was in the name. I can't remember.
Yeah,
you were kind of Facebook before Facebook or something like that.
Yeah, it was interestingly enough, as most of my friends and people I knew at UCSD with their high GPAs and all that, they ran off to get their first jobs, and I went off and traveled. Still travel all the time, so I guess I had that bug, and then. I came back and was working just a kind of a fun, funky little game idea. And then I ran into somebody that I was introduced to who was starting this company and just started explaining it to me. And I just was so drawn to the idea of starting something. And I don't really know I was an entrepreneur at the time. It was just this concept of going out and building something. And I remember the main founder years later just always laughs the story is how he was literally telling me what they were doing. And I basically sat there. We were just chatting. I said, great, where's my desk? Where do I start? And that dad the guy was like floored. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. And
what was the name of that company?
It was called College Club.
College Club.
It was
College Club.
This is now back in 19...
And this was in San Diego?
In San Diego, back in 90... I started in La Jolla. We were at 1993. So we were actually doing things that were pre-internet to, integrate the college market to advertisers and create all sorts of content and things for college students. And then when the web hit, we integrated it to the web, and we were the first we were the largest platform for the college market when the internet first started coming out. We were listed.
It was called College Club. And the value add was to help distribute curriculum stuff? No.
It was basically what Facebook was.
Facebook.
We had the exact same ideas. We had, it was a lot, certainly some different things, but we had, web-based email. We had a chat platform where people can interact with each other, places for people to see pictures. We actually, one of the biggest ways we acquired, this is before all the ways to acquire customers now online, we'd send interns out across campuses to take pictures. The old clunky first digital cameras that came out, they'd take pictures and hand them a business card and say, hey, you've been digitized, go check out your photo. And that's what led them into signing up for our platform.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, this is late 1990s.
In College Club, so you just you just set up a desk, and then you're quickly...
So where do I start?
Right. But do you quickly become... Are you part of the ownership group or the management group?
Yeah,
and then you guys grew pretty quick, didn't you?
Well, we got some equity, and I was like the third guy there. And then my role literally took on every position in the company. I mean, I ran every department, and then I'd find somebody to replace myself that was in that area. Then I'd go move to the next big need of the company. I pretty much did everything but technology, although I took on different parts of it. I wasn't a programmer. And that was 3 of us that we eventually grew to 400 people.
400 people. 400 That's people. Where I was going.
Yeah, we had quite a nice run for 7 years.
And so that
raised $75 million.
And that gets you right to about the .com bubble.
We were right there. We actually finally, through a massive amount of work and no sleep and no time off, we finally filed our S1 to go public. And I remember very clearly it was in spring of 2000,
right?
Or late, I should say, late Q1 of 2000. We finally filed our docs, and we actually took our first vacation in 5 years. We were off in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I remember this specifically. The CEO, myself, I was kind of playing a sort of a COO role at the time, and I remember it was a massive rainstorm. We were watching the TVs, and the stock market was crashing, and just all the news was on that. CFO pretty much had a heart attack on the spot and flew out immediately back home because we had a $2 million bridge lined up to fund that Tuesday to get us to bridge us to the IPO. We were burning money. See, back in those days, if you recall, it was market share, spend, don't worry about profits. So VCs and all the funders were like, just go out and spend money. Don't worry about it. And so, we were carrying a staff of 400, burning a lot of money. And we had a bridge loan lined up, and that loan kind of went away real fast. Actually, I think it was a $10 million loan to bridge us to the IPO. We were burning about $2 million a month, believe it or not.
I believe it. With 400 employees, it's kind of easy to do. So you file the S1, you guys go off on a vacation, and you're partying it up, and the market tanks, and it begins its slide. So this is the opposite of a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, this is when
sinking tide.
Yeah, everybody panicked, and we were wondering. Next thing you know, it was like, "What do you mean the money's not coming?" And then you're like, well, "What do you mean this is not happening? All support and things you guys told us to do, we're doing."
Right.
And now all of a sudden you're turning your backs on us, and it was just everybody was panicked because nobody knew. Right. Most people hadn't gone through this. Everybody didn't know what to expect.
Right.
So it was crazy.
Well, I didn't know we'd get into it this deep this early, but this is perfect because then the next question is, how do you respond to that kind of adversity? I'm sorry to laugh because I can only imagine it must have been, freaky. Like,
yeah, it was tough because you get to a point where you feel like, here I'm in my mid-20s thinking that, worst case, they're telling you what you're going to go out in the IPO and you're going to be worth $500 million, and, you're doing your math on your equity, and, okay, I'm going to be retired at 28, and, okay, if it doesn't go to $500 million, maybe it'll be $200 million. Either way, we're all going to be great. We're finally going to cash in after 7 to 8 years of working our asses off.
Right.
What could go wrong? Never do you expect this. And so, how do you react to it? I mean, it really wasn't a lot of options. We were trying to do everything we could to save the company. We went from that to all of a sudden having to lay off 200 people, trying to find money anywhere we could, and everything was shut down. Everybody was on hold. So it literally, there was probably a group of people that got caught at the worst possible time, and we were in that batch of people. And so we went from that to all of a sudden, next thing you know, I was learning how to recover companies out of bankruptcies. I mean, that's how fast things turned around. When you have that much debt and you're not producing an income and nobody will fund you.
Right.
I mean, literally no money anywhere.
Right.
You're quickly finding out, okay, and now you're learning how to do mass layoffs, how to deal with, ultra panic, how to deal with trying to turn companies around, how to find somebody to buy it out of bankruptcy so you can
damage control on all fronts. And then obviously you're concerned about yourself and your friends, but laying off.
That was
when I had to, I think I laid off. Ultimately, I think it was only one person, 2 people, and it was very, very, very difficult. So I can't imagine.
Well, the worst was this group of young kids just out of college or still in college. That this was their 3rd acquisition because they had some app within our platform it was like note taking or some kind of cool thing that we wanted to acquire.
Right.
They all did it in Michigan. Then they were acquired by a company in San Jose-ish area or San Francisco, so they all moved over there. 6 months later, we then acquire them, and then they all start to move down to San Diego. 2 weeks later, this whole thing happens. So they're just now getting, they're just unpacking their boxes, and you got to tell them that they're.
My God!
I mean, it's just, what can you do? I mean,
no, I'm only laughing.
It was horrible.
It reminds me of the classic Woody Allen joke, which is comedy is tragedy plus time. There's no way anybody could laugh back then.
Yeah.
I mean, hard enough to laugh now, but wow.
But you know, you learn a tremendous amount of lessons. You know, the everything that so much of what I went through is really shaped where I am today, and a lot of that. And that was, you know, you got to, you know, what can you do? As they say, you know, you take the blows, you fall down, you get back up, you dust yourself off. I mean, if I were going to just sit around and mope for a year, I mean, I still had my knowledge, I still had my brains, I wasn't damaged, I wasn't injured, I had my health. And then what I tell people is that it's a lot harder to lose actual cash that you have sitting in a bank account versus a piece of paper and you've never had it. Like, you know, I came from, I was living off of nothing, you know, I just barely surviving. So I was used to, you know, sweat equity and just doing, you know, eating top ramen and doing what I could to get there. So it wasn't like I had all this money that I lost.
Phantom money.
It was phantom money. So that helped ease the pain slightly. I'm saying if there's one,
right,
I mean, still very painful. Let me get it.
Right. And so you pick yourself up and your next venture is, and just real quick for the listener, now that we're on the upteenth interview, I think you're noticing a pattern here, and it tends to be about this kind of tremendous struggle and pain, and then it kind of happens again and again. So how do you pick yourself up, dust off? What's the next venture?
You know, the ups and downs. I mean, so I just started consulting, and one thing I learned is, you know, companies of that size, I really, you know, if I had to do it over again, which, you know, we are doing again, you know, I kind of have my mental limit on how big of a company I want to build employee-wise. I do love working with employees and building a good culture, and you know, as you can see and know.
Right.
But that was one part of it. But I started consulting and did a project with Club Med, and I created kind of a social community for Club Med, and that was an interesting experience.
Wow.
And then also I found out this guy who was this guru that we all, and just to kind of regress for a second back into the company, I was 21, 22 when I started, and the main CEO partner was really into personal development, and he was into Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy.
Wow.
So we all had mandatory learning hour from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Where we'd go in the room and we'd have to be in there. We'd listen to an hour's worth of Brian and Tony and talk about those items. And this is the true brain food. This is all the stuff they don't teach you in school that you kind of wish they did. And in hindsight now, this is the one thing that if you say, you know, what's your give back, Eric? What are the one things if you made gazillions of dollars and retired, what would you fix? And to me, it's just the educational system. They don't teach, you know, personal development, human development type skills.
Isn't that incredible?
It's crazy. And
it is crazy.
So we were like all 20-year-old kids just devouring this knowledge up and saying, holy shit, why did they not teach us this in school? And so fell in love with Brian and Tony. And then so now jumping back forward again is Brian actually was in San Diego like myself, and a family friend of mine actually worked for him. And she's like, hey, Eric, you know, I knew you did some internet stuff, and this is now back in 2001.
Right.
And Brian wants to, he wants to get into this internet. He doesn't understand a thing about it. Can you sit down and maybe come in and maybe you can help do something for him? So, you know, I came in and met the guru, met Brian, and I was like, you know, drooling, you know, sitting there saying, wow, this is the legend. I've been listening to him for 8 years, and here I get to meet him. And you're just like, you know, shaking in my boots, sweating, you know, walk in there. And, you know, mustered up enough confidence to start talking about everything. And fortunately, I had the knowledge. And, I sat down with him in a nice conversation. I think the fact that he knew that I knew his brand and I knew his stuff so well, and I knew the internet, and I basically said, Brian, here's what you need. Here's what I can do for you. And by the way, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not an employee. I'll do all this stuff for you, but don't pay me anything. But I'll take a piece of the back. Let's build this together. And if I succeed, we'll succeed together. And he's like, no brainer. I can't refuse that deal.
That was what year?
2001, February 2001.
February 2001. Wow.
Here we are 16 plus years later.
Yeah. So I just want to parenthetically say, I should have done what your boss did, which is force this personal development. I felt like that was crossing the line. So what I did was I made, I hate to say made, but I had the team read a book and report a week. And we would also go through, for instance, some of Brian's stuff or Cubby stuff, a lot of 7 Habits. But we would do that as part of our business meeting on the front end.
Got it.
And I still have, much like you said, so I have guys circling back 15 plus years later. Out of all the things they could remember, they talked to me about those lessons, education. So I love that.
Right.
So that's how you met BT, the legend. Yep. And today you're still working with him, and you're working with several other legend, so to speak.
We took that model. What's interesting, we call ourselves a full service digital agency,
right?
And we've been working with different gurus and authors and speakers, and now we're starting to add on consumer products and actually selling some of our own products. So we're looking to do everything where we teach people how to do digital marketing. Really what happened with Brian was we continue to have more and more speakers and authors come knock on the door and say, hey, what you do for Brian, can you do for me? And after you hear that like the 20th time, you're like, aha, maybe that's the pivot. And it was, it was always such loyalty to Brian. Then it was like, well, was Brian going to be okay with really the staff work for me? I mean, most everything on the internet, on the online part of it, they work for me. And it was, how do you have that conversation with Brian to essentially say, hey, we want to no longer have a monogamous relationship. We want to be working with other clients. And really it was a long, couple years talking about it, brainstorming different ideas. But in hindsight, it actually worked out really well with the timing because Brian was sort of feeling kind of the same way. He was looking into his future and he wanted to make sure, Brian is so kind and generous. He wanted to make sure the team would never abandon him. And if this is what was going to make us happy and help us grow, he was fully supportive of that as long as we were taking care of him, which we always would. So it actually worked out really well. And now what we do for Brian, we do for other gurus, famous gurus like Jack Canfield.
That's
you know him
amazing.
from Chicken Soup for the Soul. So we do digital marketing for Jack Canfield, a guy named Phil Town who teaches how to invest like Warren Buffett, great guy.
Phil's amazing.
Phil, yeah.
Jack's amazing.
Yeah, so things like that. And what's different about our model, what I learned all the way back from entrepreneurialism, and here's kind of one of the biggest tips I tell people is that if you believe in your ability to perform, then why not put your nuts on the table, if you will. If you're female, I guess I would, you label that something else,
right.
but
skin in the game.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
And actually, if you offer to do something for back pay based on performance, it's so hard to say no to that.
That's right.
And you're dealing in a world where everybody's clamoring to try to sell you their services, especially when you're in the service-based industry. Right. More than that, it's like, hey, we're going to do this social media marketing and this other stuff for you and ad buying. And by the way, pay us 10 to 20 grand a month. And of course, by nature, and you got to look at what ultimately is going to happen. The role of typical agencies in this case is to do the least amount of work possible to keep the clients happy. You got to perform, but you don't necessarily need to go above in performance because that extra ounce you're spending, you should go work on other clients to keep them all happy.
Sure.
So you don't have skin in the game. What do you care if, as long as the client's paying you checks? And so we took that model and opened that up out there, and we call ourselves a full service performance based agency. And now everybody we could win almost any bid out there.
And I think the key word is performance based, hyphenated, because you share. The reason it's extra brilliant, at least in my perception here, is that you share in not just success, but
cost.
The better, the cost, but the greater the success, the greater your reward.
That's right.
So it's truly a win-win situation.
Both sides of the equation.
That's right.
I mean, on the other side, like I said, the cost. So they know that we're watching what the spend. So let's say we're doing ad buys for clients. We're not going to go out there. If I'm spending a percentage that's coming out of my pocket, then they know that I'm watching the dollars. And that makes them feel really comfortable knowing that we're completely aligned.
All right, just a quick timeout. Want to make sure you're aware that when you subscribe, that is, you hit the subscribe button, you're going to get 3 episodes automatically delivered to you, and in some cases, wirelessly. So you'll get your Mind Bullet Monday, your interview on Wednesday, and of course, your Frequently Asked Friday, all automatically delivered when you subscribe. And on a related note, just want to make sure you realize it helps Henry and I tremendously, if you're getting value, to leave a quick review, particularly in iTunes. iTunes values reviews. It weighs them very heavily, and that helps the show rankings and how we can spread our message. And one more quick note about our great sponsor, Audible.com. If there's one thing I know, and I think Jim Rohn was the one who said this originally, in 5 years, the difference in your life will be largely based upon 2 things: the books you've read and the relationships you have fostered. Doesn't it make sense to take advantage of the downtime, whether you're on the road, on a run, in the gym, kill a couple birds with one stone, get a book going? It's phenomenal. It's the more people I turn on to it, the more compliments I get. Not that I've actually done anything. 180,000 titles to choose from. You get one free book a month, 30% off any other book. Again, check it out. audibletrial.com/habits to goals. I'm going to say that again real quick. audibletrial.com/habits to goals. And that is the number 2.
And so, yeah. And so few people will do that in any kind of. You think about how you can do this for your industry. If you're listening to this out there. What can you do to get your foot in the door? Yep. Just offer to your services for upfront. Yeah.
To be fair with Brian, he's got so much passion. He's prolific. He's always creating, but he's getting a little older, and I'm sure was looking for a little transition in a way, not to leave. I know he wants to keep working, but maybe at a different pace. So it seems like, again, a win-win for both of you.
Absolutely. And as he speaks less on the road, to have the ability to have a tech team and a marketing team to help him do webinars from home or telecasts from home and things like that, that's or in the studio as we're sitting right now. I mean, that's going to be his future.
Fantastic. So we're already, because we've touched on the tough times, unless there's any other little nugget you want to share.
Every day's a grind. But it's a good grind.
Well, yeah, you got to get up and work. It doesn't matter if you're the gazelle or the lion.
No, let me correct you. Don't get up and work. We get up and play every day. If you're working,
right?
If you have to work every day, that doesn't sound very fun.
Play.
Yeah. You got to find something that you enjoy doing, right?
And then you're not working.
Isn't that what you're doing right now? Isn't that what you get to play?
Yes. So we're going to get, I don't want to give too much away, but yes. So let's just segue to that. Your definition of success. How do you're running around with all these legends in the personal development space. You're a student of personal development. How does EB, Eric Berman, define success?
Well, it's kind of broad for me because there's certainly the one which a lot of people define, which is you have your financial freedom, the ability to not have to, go into the office and I should say work/play, work on, whatever it is, you could do what you want when you want to do it ultimately. So financial freedom, that to me is one part of it. I think secondarily is having been able to build something up that you're actually employing an amazing team that and you're essentially paying for families and you're allowing others to have an amazing lifestyle based on the machinery and the thing that you built out there. That's exciting and success. The ability to most importantly, the ability to have a positive impact in the world by creating some kind of widget that affects the end consumer. So not only are you having a positive impact on yourself, you're having a positive impact on your employees, and lastly, you're having a positive impact on the end consumer. It's the full triangle there.
Right. That's
kind of like the triangle of success. You get all three nodes to be happy.
I love that. That's sweet.
Yeah.
And what I love about that too is you're literally the lever or the leverage to other great thought leaders and their message. Mm-hmm. So you're not just doing great stuff for your company and your employees and turning the lever there. You're multiplying their impact.
That's right.
That's fantastic. Right.
And you got to think though, it could be beyond. It could be even beyond self-help gurus. Like I said,
sure.
we're entering a space where we're going to be teaching our own content and we're going to be taking on consumer products. But we don't want to just take on any consumer product. We want to take on something that really, if somebody buys and consumes, it's going to have a positive impact. They're really excited to use it. Very low. There's so many people in this industry that is what they call black hat or running a very gray area where they're trying to suck you into buying some kind of health something or other on a subscription model, and it's just it's just a game they're playing just to go chase the dollars.
Churn to nowhere.
Yeah, I've purposely stepped away from that opportunity and focus on good stuff. Yeah.
That's amazing. So now I'll answer the question. You were saying, if you do what you kind of love to do, then you're not working. And so that's what I was going to get into, my definition of success, which the listeners probably heard. many, many times, is creating your ideal future. So, yeah, as I'm sitting here across from you, there's nothing, believe it or not, nothing I'd rather be doing. And I believe it's a framework for quote unquote success. In other words, if you're going after it, you know what the target is, and you're going after it each and every day, then you're a success. Doesn't matter if you're a sanitation engineer or a teacher or a rocket scientist, right? Or EB, standing in the winner's circle. He's creating his ideal future. Well, fantastic. Semi-related, because when I walk into your office here, first of all, I love it. Everybody's busy. And I see the values are posted all around, something I do in my office as well. And so the question I have for you, I don't typically ask this, but what are the importance of taking the time to identify either personal values or corporate values?
It's funny you say that because in our company, our company Branditize, we are about to do our annual retreat, and it's so important that we actually dedicate once a year. We do a 3-day outing when the whole team goes out there, and the first item of the entire agenda is actually to review our mission, our vision, and our core values. And once we get that done. And it's funny because we haven't changed our mission in a few years, but I know it's coming this actual time.
You think so?
Oh yeah, because I know we pivoted a little as a company, and our current mission, hasn't been able to
support your new direction.
Yeah, so it'll be changing, but what's great about it is not me changing it; it's the team changing it, and they're going to collaborate on it. And then one of the best parts is that people call each other all the time on our core values. So one of them is obviously building products that we believe in. And sometimes we look at clients, and there's certain certain opportunities that we face that the team almost rejects. I might get excited because I got shiny object syndrome quite a bit, like any other entrepreneur. But I get smacked around and reminded of our core value, and it's great when they're looking at the wall and pointing at it and say, "Eric, but it doesn't do this." Shit, you're right. So it's the fiber of who we are, and people feel it. And part of recruiting. People come in there and they buy into it, they see it, they sense it, they feel it, they taste it. So that's So
it's not just a word on the wall, it's your guiding principles. It helps you make decisions better.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
All right, so we got your definition of success. We understand a little bit about the significance of values in your life and your corporate your company culture. I want to, and we've actually kind of touched on tough days, but tough days aren't just something in the past. We have tough days kind of all the time. How do you get through tough days in the present?
Yeah, I'm just thinking the most recent example.
Right.
The most recent example is one of my great team members. Has decided is basically given notice. She wants to pursue a totally different path, nothing to do with the company, and she wants to just pursue another path that's an itch that she's got, and I want to support her on that. And it's a tough day. Here's a position that's going to be very tough.
She's
to
probably
fulfill.
been with you for
a while, for a couple of years, and it's a very position that's very specific. Took a while to train her up, and it's a lot of relationships related. So she knows a lot of people. So it's a tough one to stomach. But instantly it's ouch for a half a second, and then it's okay. Immediately go into let's go fix it. Let's go quickly get a thing up, and you just move forward because standing around and you learn, you stand around and sulk about it. It literally has zero value to you, and in fact, it's negative because you're affecting others around you. So you have to show strength, and I think also back to even College Club. If I had so many battle wounds in that 7 years of building that up, that very few things faze me as much. You just sort of get hit. You're scarred. You're thick-skinned, and okay, let's go on to the next.
There's a sense of resilience,
totally,
especially 20 plus years in.
Totally. To be sad is a mad way to be.
Yeah, you can only be sad and bummed so long. So that brings us to we spoke about success, and this is called Habits to Goals. My take on habit. It's part of the show that, and I'm laughing a little because I know I know some of your great habits, but I want you to share 2, 3, or 4 of your best habits, things you would consider instrumental for your success.
Yeah. A is having the ability to juggle so much stuff, to me, is extremely important in the role I'm in. If you look at the curve of CEOs, I think a lot of them fall on the side of being very visionary and sort of the mad scientist role, and they sort of forget a lot of things and say a lot of things and don't, they kind of almost need somebody to pick up behind them. And for whatever reason, I'm more of the organized CEO, and
right.
That's one of the strengths people say, and I think it's one of the habits is the ability to take in all the feedback you're getting and have a place where you can put down all the ideas somewhere, whether it's your to-do list, and the habit of being able to check that and start your day with looking at your to-dos, ending your day with moving your to-dos into the next day or to whenever they need to be. And so I think being able to shuffle everything in your life from personal to business and getting the habit of checking that, it literally takes the stress off, because people are like, how do you do so much stuff? Like, everybody I know is like amazed at how I'm able to take so much on.
Right.
And to me, it's so simple because I have an ability to take in the information, put it down somewhere, and I know my habit's going to get me back into that where I need to, check it off the list next.
Is there usually at the end of the show we talk about a few apps, websites, tools, but since it's so appropriate now, is there a particular?
I use our company uses Asana, which is pretty popular for project management. But it's not just, there's a lot of project management tools. It's how do you manage your to-do list within any tool?
Sure.
And not allowing. I walk around the office and it still frustrates me because you'll walk around people's to-do lists and everything's, missed deadlines because they didn't get to it. So I can see that they're not organizing themselves the way they can be.
Got it.
And then I use something called Todoist, which is Todoist, which is the one I have for my personal stuff. And just the silliest little things like reminders to go feed the plants, reminders to, it's somebody's birthday or because I got so much going on, but my reminder tells me like, it literally just guides my day every day. So
the habit is just inputting it, constantly inputting
and going to the next thing and just checking that constantly.
Amazing.
So that's one. That's one. Yeah, one of my habits.
And by the way, I can attest to that because I've been in at least one entrepreneurial group with EB here, and he was the most organized leader of the group there for his little tenure. So
yeah, I mean, I think in the habit or your routine of you always talk about, goal setting and, getting your habit of setting your goals and reviewing your goals. Of course, I have a to-do reminder to review my goals.
Right.
So otherwise I wouldn't get it done because I'd forget. So I have that habit of, doing that. I think certain things you want to have in your routine, for me personally, my 7 a.m. workout class is, part of my habit. If I don't do that, I feel, I don't feel like I'm at my best. I feel like, by the end of the day, I didn't achieve all I could achieve. So, getting in your habits, your morning rituals for what you like to do, really get your day off started well.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I thought you were going to mention the flossing habit.
Yeah, flossing habit.
Kidding.
Yeah, I need to work on
Back
that
in the day. So I jumped over this because it probably makes sense to jump over, but I want to jump back and give me, if you could pick, and I know it's impossible, so it's not even a fair question, 1 or 2 things, 15 years of working with BT, like you've read all the books, the material, the man. What is the 1 or 2 great success tips you think you've garnered from Mr. Tracy?
Well, my hero. Yeah, well, my favorite saying, my favorite quote comes from Brian, and I live my philosophy. And I actually tell people, if they say these 3 words, it will change their life forever. If they say it and they believe it and they live it, it's the most empowering 3 words. And I know you want to know what those words are. You're dying, aren't you?
No.
So it's empowering. It gives them control. And it solves almost all the problems.
Oh my God!
It's the 3 most.
Don't say it.
If you're listening to this, I want you to try this. I want you to try this for 24 hours.
Oh
and just say
my
these 3
God!
words.
I do know what it is.
No, it's not. I like my no.
That's
you
where
thought
I
I like
going.
myself.
Yeah,
That's a good one too.
That's where I thought you were.
But it's I am responsible. That's it.
No, drop the mic.
It sounds so simple.
So I'm going to have to, this is going to be bad for radio. I'm going to show you, because my blog post just yesterday was taking 100% responsibility. Where to go?
It's the greatest.
Here it is. Oh, I'm not online. Let me back up. You can at least see it in cash.
Oh, there it is. Taking 100% responsibility. I know Jack Canfield talks about it. Brian talks about it. It's too easy to feel sorry for yourself and blame others for everything. But if you really think about every possible situation and you take responsibility and say, I am responsible, the reality is there's always something you could have done to avoid this situation.
I'm so glad I asked these questions.
If you take responsibility, even if something shitty happened, if you don't take it, you never learn, you never grow. But if you look at every situation and say, I'm responsible, you could have said, well, what? Okay, let me stop blaming everybody else and feeling sorry for myself and just step back and say, what one thing could I have done differently this time to not have the outcome I wanted? And if you could change, and if you actually sit back and realize it and realize, you know what, there was something, an amazing amount of energy will shoot your way because you feel empowered that you just grew and you learned something, and now that won't happen again. If you don't do that, then you're never growing. You're just going to continue to blame other people for your life, and you stay stagnant in your life, and you never get ahead.
So two quick related thoughts I think important to share. When you're blessed to have a 16-year-old daughter, it was about 3 weeks ago. My wife just does way too much. She caters to her. Get this, get this, get this. So the fact is they're rushing off to school in the morning. And Mia forgot her shoes. And this is very related because what happened was she blamed her mother, and she's 16. So we had a very significant meeting that evening about responsibility. And in fact, I'll share the entirety of it. It starts with
Did you read your blog?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. In fact, the other night she was out too late. This is fast forward 3 weeks. And she wanted to blame, she could have blamed her friends, this, that. And I said, who's responsible? And she just looked me square in the eye and said, I am. And I was like, that's sweet. Right. So either she's playing, I came to her with these three, and they're probably going to make sense to you too. I said there are 3 rules. 3 rules, and your life will be easier, not harder. Because lately things have been very difficult for you. So the first is be responsible, 100% responsible. Second is be kind. Be kind, right? The golden rule.
Yeah, the golden rule, yeah.
The Dalai Lama says, be kind whenever possible. And it's always possible. And then the third is be grateful. Because, it's like, this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough, and, the kid has everything. So anyways, that helped me feed into the blog post. But I thought you were going to say, I like myself. I'd never heard that before. Brian Tracy's famous for having people affirm, I like myself, I like myself. So when I was scrambling for the 3 words, I finally sat up and I was like, yep, I got it. It's I like myself. And then you're like, no, it's I am responsible, which is even better.
Yeah, yep.
Wow. Well, that took a quick tangent. So now we're probably rounding third. Is there a habit you're trying to, you don't have to answer this, craft or a bad one you're trying to eliminate?
Yeah.
I always give the caveat, you don't have to answer.
Let's see. I'm trying to date more responsibly. That's on my habit.
Well, it's hard. When you're a Hollywood millionaire matchmaker.
Just throwing it out there.
That's right. EB is single, but it's got to be hard. When you're a millionaire matchmaker star, you're in the winner's circle at Del Mar. It can't be easy.
Yep.
All right. Well, so like I said, we are officially around third. You're very well read. You're hanging out with these legends. In your experience, your life, your career, what 1 or 2 super transformative books? Most important, influential books in your life?
I think fairly recently, and a lot of people in the EO entrepreneur world, really like Vern Harnish's Scaling Up book. It's a lot of good techniques in there.
Right.
So that's the one that sort of jumps to my mind fairly quickly.
Anything else?
God, there's so many out there, but I'm drawing a blank right now.
Give me a BT book.
All Brian's. Brian's
one of your favorite BT books. And by the way, Vern's a rock star. I love Vern, and he gave me a huge.
Well, part
props for the pressure paradox. But
nice.
Yeah, nice. Give me your.
Some of Brian's got a few books. Eat the Frog is one of his most famous. Really about time management and eating the frog, which. In a 2 seconds is the frog is the most difficult task that you're facing every day. And if you basically look into that frog and just eat it right away, it gives you a tremendous amount of energy to get through the rest of your day. So sometimes
it makes the rest of the day easy.
It makes it easy. And I still fall habit to that. You look at that frog and you just keep putting it off. So I think that's pretty profound, and maximum achievement saves so many people's lives. And then I really love one of his. So it's almost like thinking of the B-sides of a record. One book that didn't get published all that much, but I read it was called Something for Nothing, and it really is a lot of it now, especially in today's political climate too. It's really an interesting book where it just talks about how people get in the habit of getting something for nothing and no work, and then they start complaining when you take it away, and how it's just how the mindset is just it's just interesting how something for nothing becomes, it's almost so toxic, and he explains that phenomenon, which is pretty interesting.
Well, and it kind of touches on, you were talking about the snake oil marketing salesman. There's a little bit of that going around, whether they think the tactics can smoke signal and disguise something that may not be too valuable.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I'm still going to ask you your favorite tech tool, gadget, website. Obviously, you like Asana and
we use Asana. The stuff we use Asana. We use Slack for our internal communication. We still use something called 15Five. That's 15. FIVE.com for weekly check-ins with our staff, where they kind of do a quick report every week, tell us some of their insights. I just use a new tool at a
That's a website, 15Five?
It's an old technique called 15Five. It used to be a hard copy. Now it's just digital, and you can track everything. We use something called...
What's the website for that?
15 and then FIVE.com.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
Fun tool we use for hiring it's called SparkHire.
SparkHire.
And does video interviews. So you basically, all the candidates you really like, rather than wasting a lot of time bringing them in and knowing in the first 10 seconds.
.com?
Yeah, SparkHire.com. Yeah, in the first 15 seconds, how you actually realize the person is just not going to be a good fit. This allows you to do video interviews, and you have all sorts of questions they send in the answers to before you even get to see them, to see if it's the right fit. You can ask them what their salary requirements are, what their, why they didn't just a lot of the questions you'd ask in an interview, you can have them send in before you even see them.
So they're submitting a video, but it's not a live interview.
It's a one-way interview, one-way video. So that's a cool little tool. I just found one that we actually did our first 360 review for the entire company. We just finished that off about 2 weeks ago, where everybody ranked each other and gave each other feedback.
What tool is that? And you're in on that?
We do both quarterly reviews on this tool. We do our 360 reviews. It's called smallimprovements.com. Has some work to do, but it does the functions that we want for, let's just say for a small company. Our company is 25 plus employees, so there's a lot of bigger tools out there. But for people that are more in the startups that are trying to lower market, it's a good one. I just rattled off a bunch there for you.
Yeah, I've been scribbling for the last 10 minutes. Yeah. No, those are fantastic. Those are great. You've always been a bit of a gadget junkie, which I love, which is probably why you're so dialed in and super successful. Let's see. Before we sign off, EB, that was amazing. Is there anything you'd like to share, promote? Obviously I'll hang some links off this, but anything you want to talk about, direct people to?
Sure, yeah. One of the new exciting things that we're excited about right now is, as I mentioned, a lot of clients have come to us, and because of our model, our full service performance-based model, we get so many inquiries for people that want us to take them on. The reality is...
But if they're not Jack Canfield...
you just nailed it. So the reality is we invest close to $20,000 to $50,000 a month, in our clients, the ones that we take on, or actually in some cases more than that. Full service, a lot of teams. So what I've been battling on my brain is how do I help all the others, because I want to help everybody, smaller solopreneurs. So we've actually crafted something called the Branditize Academy workshop, where in August we're going to be that's August 2017. We are going to be teaching all the tools, and it's not going to be, there's the done for you model and there's the teach me model. This is going to be kind of a hybrid. It's going to be done alongside with you, and we're going to let you sort of get in the car with us and take the wheel, and we're going to drive alongside of you and get you set up on every area of digital marketing.
Powerful. Wow.
Yeah. Somebody like yourself or anybody else.
Wow.
So we're going to be doing that for about 10 different brands, 10 different companies, you and or a partner, a business partner come in, and we're going to essentially, if you want to try to do this on your own, you can, but if you want to get all the secrets and the tips and all the standard operating procedures that we've done for Brian and Jack and everybody else on Legend, just want to kickstart, and you're really serious about building up your internet digital business, then it's a great opportunity.
So it's a live workshop as opposed to online.
It's not. We're going to be
course.
So it's going to be both. For now, we're going to start. We're starting to trickle in a couple courses. We're actually going to be launching a social media smaller course. Fairly soon, about a month or so.
What platform are you going to use for that?
Still working that up. It'll probably be something called Teachable.
Yeah.
And then this is the big workshop. This is live with our entire team. So you're literally standing beside, and we're setting up your ad campaign, setting up your social media correctly, teaching you how to do the right blogging, to email funnels, all that stuff. So so if you're interested, just our site's branditize.com/workshop, where you can see the workshop button on there.
Branditize. I'll make sure I have all the links.
Yeah.
Fantastic, EB.
Thank you.
You lived up to the legend and the hype on the front end. You brought a ton of value. I'm honored.
Thank you, sir,
you allowed me into your studio. Great job. Say goodbye.
Most importantly, I hope those of you that are listening, thank you for your time, because I know your time is extremely valuable. So I appreciate you spending the time listening to us rant and rave over here. And hopefully took away one or two things that can help you with your life.
I know they did. Thank you again. Say goodbye, Eric.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
We'll see you at the next episode.